Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Chill with Chill. How you doing, Chill Town?
Running good, man. It's the finals. We in the middle of it. We got two great teams battling it out. So, yeah, it's kind of it's a little melancholy though, Big Ox, because as happy as I am about the finals, like the season's about to be over. So, damn, it's kind of dope, but it's also kind of sad too, because then I gotta wait for the season to come back again.
How are you during this time? Not the whole summer, because I know football does get started.
Mm-hmm.
We're just kind of the beginning right now. Like,
I have
are you a baseball guy?
I am a baseball guy. I'm a Mets fan, but I don't start watching the Mets till after the All-Star break. But with that being said, Big Ox, I have a difficult time early because ain't no basketball. Now we do have the draft coming up, and we got the summer league and stuff like that. But there's basketball withdrawal for a while, where like, yo, what's going on? What we don't have any basketball, so I struggle a little bit early.
Do you get into like summer league? Like, I know they got a summer league in Orlando now too, right?
Mm-hmm.
You ever pulled up there?
I never pulled up there, but I do get into it. That's how I found Jason Tatum. I mean, I watched him at Duke, but that's how I figured out who Jason Tatum really was, because I watched him in the summer league in Salt Lake in the summer of 2017, and I was like, yo, I think this dude gonna be a star. And I saw Duncan Robinson in the summer league. He was on that Heat team, and I was thinking, yo, this dude could shoot the rock. I don't know if he's gonna make the squad, because it's tricky in the summer league. Like, you can see a guy in the summer league look really good, and the question is he gonna get an opportunity? You know, is somebody gonna bag him? We don't know, but you know, there's some gems in the summer league, and I do look out for that. I do.
I kind of slept on college this year. I usually don't. I'm usually up on it, but this year I was kind of asleep, so I'm definitely gonna pay attention to the summer this year.
Right.
I'm thinking about getting down to Vegas for some of it, trying to get some content for my channel and stuff. So
yeah, that might be what's up. Yeah, that definitely might be what's up. So, and to your point, I probably need to take a trip up to Orlando to catch a summer league game. What they do is they have it at I think they have it at the Orlando Magic facility, and they hadn't had people in it, but I think that was in like 2020, 2021, in the summer of 21. But I think that's changed now. So they have them in 3 different places. They had I know it's one up in Sacramento. I know that's there. In what am I thinking about? In Vegas. I know also in Salt Lake City, and out here on the East Coast. I think that there's one in Orlando. So yeah, I may have to pull up there and because it ain't that far. It's like 2 hours up the road. So it ain't no big deal.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, we're not gonna beat around the bush too much here today, y'all. We getting straight into it. We got an hour and 30 minutes. Let's make the best of it.
Let's do it.
Don't got no time for fluff. Mm-hmm. So with it being game 3, let's get into the nitty gritty. Mm-hmm. A lot of things change after the finals. You know what I'm saying? Especially with that time we were just talking about, the downtime. There's a lot of narrative talk, and a lot of that narrative talk turns into legacy talk. Mm-hmm. So what is up? What is up there? What's on the table this year? We got Jamal Murray, Jokic, Jimmy Butler. Mm-hmm. I'll throw in Kyle Lowry. Mm-hmm. I will throw in Kyle Lowry. This finals is gonna say a lot about some legacies. Chilton, what do you think to do for Jamal Murray?
Well,
he's a bucket getter. What will this do for him on that list of bucket getters?
The first thing I think it'll do for him is it'll solidify him that what we saw in the bubble was legit. In these last 2 years that he was hurt, we kind of got deprived of that. So for him to be on a championship team and be a bona fide number 2, I think that solidifies him as that, right? And Jamal Murray is one of those guys who, since I've been watching the game and the game recently, and probably over the last 5 to 7 years, he's one of the better tough shot makers that I've seen, Big Ox. I've seen a lot of guys who take tough shots, but Jamal Murray is one of those guys who takes tough shots and makes them. Shots where a defender goes, man, I was all over him on that one, and I really couldn't do nothing with him. And when you got guys like that make tough shots, it's demoralizing for the defense, right? It really puts the defense at a disadvantage, because if he's making tough shots like that when I'm not on him, he's more than likely going to make shots when he's open, right? Now, you also got guys who make tough shots, but they don't really make tough shots. They don't really make open shots. They only make shots with a hand in their face. Jamal Murray isn't one of those guys. He can crack the 17 and 19 footer, but he can also crack the 17 and 19 footer or get downhill with a hand in his face. He can do all of those things. So when you talk about a guy like Jamal Murray in this particular situation for the Denver Nuggets to win the NBA championship, I think that would solidify him as a legit number one. Now, when you transition over to guys like Jimmy Butler, right? Jimmy Butler's legacy is a little bit different because Jimmy Butler's on the other side of his prime. Jimmy Butler, 34 years old. So we don't really know how many more years we have at Jimmy Butler at this level. 2, maybe 3 tops. And with that being said, this championship window with the Miami Heat is open, but it's not. I don't know how much longer it's going to be open, right? With that being said, Jimmy Butler has played shooting guard and he's played small forward for the majority of his career. I thought his best years, though, have been at the small forward spot, even though he played the shooting guard. The question is where does he rank? So if they were to end up winning the NBA championship, I think he goes ahead of Reggie Miller, even though Reggie Miller, 5 trips to the Eastern Conference Championship in 7 years, an NBA, excuse me, an NBA Finals appearance. But he doesn't have the accolades that Jimmy Butler would have. In addition to the NBA championship, Jimmy Butler was an all-NBA performer more times. Jimmy Butler's an all-league defender more times, right? So at being a number one.
What about the point disparity right there, though, Chilltown? Because isn't Reggie Miller around 24, 20, anywhere 22, 24, 26?
Yeah, I think he's about 24,000, 25,000, if I'm not mistaken.
That's 9,000 point difference.
Yeah, that's huge. But if I'm gonna say that and I'm gonna keep that energy, I got to do the same logic with Larry Bird, because Larry Bird, he got robbed. We got robbed of Larry Bird a lot of years because, of back injuries. I think Larry Bird finished his career with like 18,000 points. No, I'm sorry, 20. I think he finished his career with 21,000 points. Now, that 21,000 could have easily been 25,000 if the last 3-4 years he didn't have a back issue. Jimmy Butler, on the other hand, with him and Reggie Miller, both of their games excelled in the playoffs, right? Jimmy Butler, his game got even better when the playoffs started. Maybe with lesser competition. When I think about those Indiana Pacer teams with Dale Davis, with Haywood Workman, with Rick Smits, who was an all-star in 98 when they went to the Eastern Conference Championship and lost to the Bulls in 7 games, with Pooh Richardson, right? With Mark Jackson, who once he got Mark Jackson, they got even better. But I'm not going to say that much lesser of talent. I just think that the talent that Reggie Miller had during that time and the team that he had was maybe a little more rugged, and it fit Reggie's style of play. This Miami Heat team, I think the fit with Jimmy in the team more than anything, as opposed to Reggie's style of play. That whole unit in Indiana, they based their offense around Reggie. Reggie being the long ball shooter. Reggie wasn't really much of a one-on-one player in terms of putting the ball on the floor and doing a lot of dribbling and things like that. He wasn't that kind of one-on-one player. He was more of a catch and shoot guy, one dribble, catch and shoot. But he had one of those games that once he got going, you really couldn't do anything with him. But the separator between him and Jimmy would be, one, winning this championship in this fashion, knocking out a number 1 seed. Right, knocking out the New York Knicks, and then also knocking down the number 2 seed. So to do those 2 things plus win the NBA championship as the underdog, you may have to I think he may have to go ahead of Reggie Miller in that aspect. Now you talking about other guys, and then you're talking about Jimmy Butler in terms of his position. I always felt like, his best years was at this. I want to say his best years was at the small forward. But he had some great years at the 2-guard spot too. Mm-hmm. He played the small forward in Chicago when Dwayne Wade showed up. He played the 2-guard in Minnesota when they went to the playoffs when Andrew Wiggins was the 3, and he's played the small forward for the majority of his career in Miami. So
at the shooting guard, just kind of try to get a little more specific though, Chilltown. You say you put him over Reggie. What is that number wise? Is Reggie somewhere around like 9, 10, 8 with you? Is he top 10 or what's?
If you're talking about shooting guards, I think Jimmy
shooting
Butler
guards,
could. I think Jimmy Butler could crack the top 10, 100%. I think that
where's Reggie?
I think he's already there. I think Reggie is like around that. He's fringe top 5, so I think Reggie is around. You can make an argument between 5 and maybe 8 between Reggie Miller. I think, and I think that if Jimmy Butler were to do this, I think you can make a legit argument that he can go from. I think he can crack that 5 to 8 range as a shooting guard. Okay. I think we can have that. I think we can have that discussion considering what he's done with the Miami Heat and as a player. Considering what he's done, I think we can start to have a conversation about him in that top like 6, 7, 8. I think we can have a conversation about that.
Okay. I mean, shooting guard is a tough position.
It's deep, Big Ox. It's deep.
So y'all heard it here first. If Jimmy Butler he could potentially get into that 6, 7, 8 range shooting guard.
Now remember too, Ox. Now remember too, Big Ox, when he was playing primarily the shooting guard, when he was in Chicago before Wade showed up, when he was playing primarily the shooting guard, there was a discussion between who the best shooting guard in the game was between him and Klay Thompson. That was a legit conversation. And it was a conversation for a while. So it wasn't like it was just something that happened over a year or so. Like he was better than DeMar DeRozan. Right? He was better than a lot of those other shooting guards. He was better than CJ McCullough. He was better than DeMar DeRozan. Right? So with that being said, when he moved over to the small forward, it became a bigger deal because what he was doing in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Right? When he was in Philadelphia, he played a lot of small forward, but what he was doing in the playoffs, that made it an even bigger deal. Now, I think we can have a conversation about him being closer to the top 5, and like I said, 6, 7, 8. I definitely think he's the top. I definitely think we can have a legit conversation about him being a top 10 shooting guard. Definitely.
Okay. So since we got that where if you just got here, we're having some legacy talk right now, because as we all know, the finals, what happens in this next week or so, give or take a few days, is what defines careers as far as a legacy talk. And that's what we're doing right now.
Yep.
So I got one for you, Chill. And I've had a conversation with a couple of my buddies about this, and we've had some extensive debates. I was never a Kyle Lowry guy,
right? But
stat wise, just the work he's been able to put in stat wise, he's got a respect. He's respectable in the stat category. Mm-hmm. He has a ring with Kawhi Leonard. Mm-hmm. He can get this ring with Jimmy Butler. Mm-hmm. If Kyle Lowry plays his position and contributes to this ring, is it possible that we could talk about Kyle Lowry in that fringe top 10 area, point guard wise? Can Kyle Lowry crack that 13, 12? Can Kyle Lowry get his way in there?
Well, the lead guard is very much like the center spot. When I say that is, you got a lot of point guards that have a lot of different accolades that are pretty difficult to match. So when you talk about Stockton being an all-time assist leader, Magic, 3 league MVPs, Oscar Robertson, 30, 10, and 9 for 8 straight seasons, Steve Nash, 2 league MVPs, Chris Paul, 9-time all-league defender, Jason Kidd, 9-time all-league defender, stuff like that. Not Oscar Robertson, I already spoke about him. Bob Cousy, 19 and 9 for 9 straight years. Stuff like that matters. Russell Westbrook averaging a triple-double. Tony Parker, finals MVP. When you're talking about stuff like that, Walt Frazier also. When you're talking about stuff like that, man, that point guard spot is hard. That point guard spot, when you talk about top 10, top 15, it's hard to crack because you have so many great point guards. And because you have so many great point guards, if you don't at least do something that's comparable to them, then it's going to be difficult to crack that list. Now, Kyle Lowry does have numbers comparable to Mo Cheeks, who's in the Hall of Fame, right? He does have numbers compared to Mo Cheeks, who's in the Hall of Fame. And if the Miami Heat were to win this, I think we can have a conversation about Kyle Lowry being a first ballot Hall of Famer. I think we can do that simply off the strength of that, because now we're talking about a guy who I believe I believe he made the Olympic team. I think he's a 6-time All-Star. He's an All-Pro. Even though he only made the All-Pro team one time, his numbers are comparable to like Maurice Cheeks, Tim Hardaway, guys like that. And to win the NBA championship twice and be a major contributor. And like you just said, Big Ox, you're not a big Kyle Lowry guy. I didn't think you could win the NBA championship with Kyle Lowry as a lead guard. I didn't. I wasn't on the fence about that. I wasn't thinking maybe possibly. I was very emphatic about that. You are not winning it with Kyle Lowry as your lead guard. I was emphatic about that. But that was proven wrong. But that was proven wrong because he had a stretch where we're talking about a Toronto Raptor team that was awesome. The problem was they kept running into James. That was the problem with them. They just kept running into James. Kyle Lowry, he had stretches where he was good, but he also had stretches where he was bad. I believe it was the 15-16 playoffs where he shot the worst of any guard in NBA history in the playoffs. Right. Statistically, nobody had done that before he did it, and since he did it, nobody has shot the ball worse. So, with that being said, I'm not sure that we can talk about Kyle Lowry as a top 10, top 15 point guard because that point guard list is deep. I don't think he was better than Rondo. I don't think he was better than if I run down the point guards, I don't think he was better than Magic. I don't think he was better than Stockton. I don't think he was better than Oscar. I don't think he was better than Jason Kidd. I don't think he was better than Steve Nash. I don't think he was better than Chris Paul. I don't think he was better than Walt Frazier. I don't think he was better than Tony Parker. I don't think he was better than Gary Payton. I don't think he was better than Sidney Moncrief, who also played. Sidney Moncrief played the 2 guard a lot, but I don't think he was better than Bob Cousy. I don't think he was better than not sure he was better than Mo Cheeks. I'm not sure he was better than Tim Hardaway. But if he were to win the NBA championship, I mean, I think we like I said, Rondo. I think we having a different conversation about him in terms of where he reigns as as an all-time great. And I do think that this catapults him to maybe even a first ballot Hall of Famer.
I'll see somebody in the chat. I haven't got any updates on my phone. I thought you can even. People are saying Chris Paul waived by the Suns.
I haven't heard anything about that. No, I have not heard anything about that.
Yeah.
Nope, I have not heard anything about that.
Well, okay, let me get to these few super chats real quick. As y'all know, super chats from the show. They will not be neglected. Even if it's a halftime Celtics fan like this guy here, Andrew.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
As a Celtics fan, I don't understand how someone can have Kobe over LeBron. I was always more fearful of LeBron than Kobe. 2010 Finals MVP to Gasol.
So the first part I can get with. Anybody who knows me knows that I think James was better than Bryant, and I still stand on that logic. But I'm not sure that you can make a legit argument that Gasol was the Finals MVP over Bryant. I thought Bryant did more. Don't get me wrong. Gasol did have that game 7. I think he went almost 20. I think he went 19 and 18 in that game, and he was huge. But Bryant was also huge in that game too. So, and he had some rough games. Not Bryant, but Gasol had some rough games in 2010. So I'm not sure that Finals MVP goes to Gasol. No, I think that Finals MVP goes to Bryant. Yes, no doubt about that.
I'm looking right now, Chatan, because they're being. Want to make sure that we're not missing that.
No, you're not.
Okay, yeah, no, it's no way. That definitely would have popped up on my phone
immediately. It would immediately. It would immediately popped up on my phone. So I don't know what's going on here.
Andrew G again. Wish we had Paul Pierce as our guy. We would have 2 more rings right now, 2020 and 2022. Boston ain't for everybody pressure-wise as the man.
I'm good on Tatum because, I mean, again, we're talking about Jason Tatum, who has improved every year, and he's had a career year this year. And I think we're having a different conversation if he doesn't get hurt in the beginning of the game. I think we're having a completely different conversation about him. But I just have a difficult time with fans like this. And the reason why I have a difficult time with fans like this is because they're so wishy-washy. Like 1 minute you either with us, and then the next minute you're not. And this guy, he's the epitome of a wishy-washy fan. I mean, 1 minute Jaylen Brown is the man, the next minute Jason Tatum is him. So Jason Tatum has been on the ascend his entire career in Boston. He's gotten better every year, and this year proved it.
They're waiving Chris Paul.
Is it official?
I see Chris Hayes reported it.
They cutting him. How about that, huh? They cutting Chris Paul. I see it.
Wow, what is that? I'm not mad at that move. Especially I'm pretty sure they trade DeAndre Ayton. So does that clear up a lot of cap space, or how does that work?
If they cutting Chris Paul, then I'm not sure if they're gonna trade DeAndre Ayton.
Right.
I'm not sure about that.
How does the money work though, Chilton? If they cut it, does that
here's the thing.
Cap space?
Yes, because this season his deal was, I believe, was only guaranteed for half the season at $15 million. So he wasn't on the books. He wasn't on the books for the entire year, right? He was on the books for the year, but he wasn't on the books. I don't think that money was guaranteed the entire season. So I think that money was easy to move. So we probably had, looking at this, we probably had some people in the meeting. We probably had the suits in the meeting saying, well, what is this going to cost us to move off of Chris Paul? And it probably didn't cost them as much as they thought, which would explain why they did it. Essentially what it is, Big Ox, if you're in business, what is it going to cost us to fire this dude? Right. If we let this dude...
What's the severance package?
Yes, that's basically what it is. Like, what is it going to cost us if we let this dude go? If we let him go...
Chris Paul's an unrestricted free agent right now.
Yes, he is. He is an unrestricted free agent.
I need you to tell the people right now, where is Chris Paul going?
Where is Chris Paul going? I think that his days of leading the NBA championship team are over. I think that he would be great in a role like what Kyle Lowry is doing. Like, I think he would be awesome in a reserve role. So a guy like Chris Paul, I think that he would be really good in Boston. I do. I think he would be good in Boston. Yep. I like Chris Paul up in Boston. I don't like him in Boston in the lead role. And the reason why I don't like him in Boston in the lead role is because, number one, he's going to get hurt. And not only is he going to get hurt, right? Not only is he going to get hurt, but he's going to get hurt in a crucial stretch where they're going to need him. And we've seen him in the playoffs. His game has definitely gone the other way, right? His game has definitely gone the other way. I could see him with the Lakers. I could see him getting with James and playing in a reserve role. Those are the teams that come to mind right now. Either the Lakers, the Celtics. I could see him, to be honest with you, Big Ox, I could see him up in Sacramento playing behind the Kid Fox. I could definitely see him doing that. I could see him helping your crew. I wouldn't be mad at that at all. I would not be mad at him playing up in Sacramento, playing behind Fox. Because I think that his days of being a lead guard on a championship contender, I think them days is over. And the reason why, not because his game particularly, but because I don't think he's going to hold up. That's why. And I think that his game is suffered because of that. I don't think he's going to hold up because he can still knock down mid-range shots. I think he can still get to the basket. He can still do those sort of things, right? But the difference is he just can't do them at the rate that he used to be able to do them. Because he can't do them at the rate he used to be able to do them, we can't depend on him as our leader on a championship unit. Nah.
I could see Chris Paul being so, like what you said, like coming to Sac. I could see him, helping the development of De'Aaron Fox, get him to the next level, teach them how to think the game a little better. I could see that. But I'm pretty sure Chris Paul wants to go somewhere like where he could win a ring, even if it's not leading that role.
Right. He probably still think he can. He probably still think he can play at that level, and more power to him. Because I don't think more power to him, but I don't think he can. But to your point, Big Ox, for him to get on like Denver, right? For him to get on, the Warriors, which I don't think that he would do that.
Yeah, I don't think he would do that.
For him to get on a championship contender would be more likely for him in a reserve role as opposed to, and he may start some games. I still think you could start him maybe 10, 15 games, and then we can figure it out. So by the time the playoffs show up, right? By the time the playoffs show up, see if he can hold up. I think another team that I'm thinking about that I just thought about, maybe the Clippers playing, because I think they're gonna sign Russ.
Okay, and I can see that.
I think they're gonna re-sign Russ, and him playing behind Russ. Because I again, Big Ox, I think that the days of him as a lead guard on a championship contender, it's obvious what Phoenix thinks of him because they cut him. It's obvious what Phoenix thinks of him because they let him go. So and they didn't just let him go just because of the money. They saw what he did in the playoffs. They saw what he looked like. And because they saw what he looked like, they were like, yo, we can't win it with this dude as our lead guard.
Right.
The best years of his career are behind him. So to have a team like the Knicks, to have a team like the Boston Celtics, right? To have a team like Cleveland come knocking, right? A team like Cleveland to come knocking. I think he could help them.
Oh,
he could definitely
back to New Orleans wouldn't be too bad either, Chilton.
Back to New Orleans would help. Yeah, back to New Orleans would help.
So oh no, go ahead, because I want to ask you.
I think that the fit for him is in a reserve role more than anything. I don't think that the fit for him is in a lead guard role. I think it's in a reserve role, a guy playing like what Lowry plays, like guy playing 20, 25 minutes a game as a reserve. I think he could help Cleveland. I think he could help New Orleans. Because to be quite honest with you, I think that that's what they're missing. If he could give them 25 minutes and then maybe the last 5-10 minutes of a game where he's their floor leader in stretches, I think he could help New Orleans. Yeah.
So here's the other stuff, the other side of that coin.
Mm-hmm.
Who's coming to Phoenix?
They definitely need a lead guard. Definitely. They need a lead guard. And
are they considering D-Law?
They would consider him because as of right now, Cameron Payne is a backup. So let's not I don't want to go overboard with the fact that they cut Chris Paul. So the logic is now, all right, they're moving on with Cameron Payne. No, they're not moving on with Cameron Payne. I think that a guy like D'Angelo Russell, I'm not sure if he would be the answer, but somebody like that. I'm in the market. I'm calling up Memphis and I'm asking for that kid Tyus. I'm asking for that kid Jones, man. If I'm Boston, I'm asking for him, right? If I'm Boston, I'm asking for him. And if I'm Memphis has already bagged him. But if I'm Boston, I'm asking for him. Tyus Jones is the guy that I'm asking for more than anybody. But I actually like Chris Paul in Boston playing behind Marcus Smart because I think he could really help them. And I think he can help Marcus Smart too because they're both defenders. But I don't think Marcus Smart sees the game as a distributor like Chris Paul does. I think he can get him some valuable minutes and move Malcolm Brogdon to the 2, which is where he plays normally, and playing off the basketball.
We got Context in here, KB, and we got Ty. Fellas, where is Chris Paul going and who's coming to the Suns?
Yo, Oz, hold on, Oz. My mic is like breaking in and out. You can tap me back in.
I'm going to bring you back. Ty, what's going on in Phoenix? Where's Chris Paul going, and who's coming to replace him? Ty, you there?
Nope, Ty, no Ty.
I mean, the way I'm looking at it right now, I mean, Chris Paul's really back in his career. So I feel like if you pair him up with, like you guys are talking about, a team like the Lakers, or he can go in a low usage role, maybe as a backup situation. I don't know, like you're talking about on a contending team. Like the Kings would be a good option too. I like that fit over there, but I mean, realistically, I think the best situation for him would be with the Lakers at this point.
I don't know if he'd be a good fit on the Lakers.
Why not?
Well,
just because I think maybe the way he plays is kind of like, or maybe a little bit too slow. I can see definitely them working with him on like pick and rolls. He maybe try to feed the ball to AD, since most of the time they don't win because either AD don't want to get the ball, or he'll get the ball but just kind of like not know what to do with it, or maybe LeBron kind of eats up the shots. But I just think maybe a good fit for him would maybe be like you said, the Celtics. I can see him, being another veteran leader, trying to get them over the hump and not just kind of rely on Jason Tatum, who can sometimes be hot or cold, or just that whole team. So I think maybe like a contender, because they can sign him for like a little less deal. Because I just think Chris Paul has some trade value. Yeah, I know he's old. Yeah, I know he'll get banged up. I'm not saying you need like an all-star level, but you can get something for him than just to waive him. Like that's your starting guard.
If they could have gotten something,
relying on Cameron Payne and what's the other guy?
Nah, they had no backup guard over there.
It was Cameron Payne. No. It was T.J. Warren. It was Ross. These were the other perimeter players.
What's his name?
Cameron
he had
Payne,
like 19.
T.J. Warren. You talk about Shamit.
Like, those aren't good. Those aren't really good like guards to like rely on your backup because their bench was already not that good, and now you have to pull those people off the bench into your starting role. So I just think that.
I think the biggest problem I'm having,
you can get something for him instead of just letting him out loose.
The thing about Chris Paul is there was no value for him. There wasn't. What are you going to get a second round pick for him? Maybe.
Exactly. No, exactly.
You're definitely not getting a one, and you're definitely not getting a great rotation player for him. And if that was the case, then Phoenix would have held on to him until draft night. They definitely would have done that, but they see that his value, not just from this playoff run, over the years has diminished. And when you don't get me wrong, when you letting guys walk out the front door, you're letting guys walk out the front door. Sometimes teams make mistakes, but then sometimes teams see guys walk out the front door, and it's addition by subtraction.
Hey, so we got Tyson. We got Tyson up here. Tyson is our resident Phoenix Suns fan. Tyson, can we get some input on why you think Chris Paul was moved, where he's going, and who's coming to fill his size 12s?
Mm-hmm.
I just felt like that relationship just has soured. Chris Paul being his injury, his propensity to be injured. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Just all those things, and then like Brother Chill said, he got a negative value at this point. So I'm sure they call some other execs and say, what can we get for Chris Paul? What do y'all think about blah blah blah? And they did a little poll, and they saw it's no real value for Chris Paul. So they just give him his money and let him go, walk off into the sunset. Thought it was a good move. Again, like Chill said, we're looking at Van Fleet, Tyus Jones, who else? I can't think of a whole lot of guys, but that probably the top two right now I could think of is Van Fleet and Tyus Jones. So we gonna see, man. I'm glad we got rid of Chris Paul. I haven't been a big fan of him over the past 2 or 3 years. So I'm looking forward to who we bring in to get some new blood up in there to run that point guard position, because that's what we've been lacking. That's what we've been lacking in the playoffs. Chris Paul defensively is not the same, and he's not providing the same value on offense. So at this point, it was time for him to go.
Yeah.
If you're the Phoenix Suns, you were stuck between a rock and a hard place. I mean, you either keep Chris Paul, which his contract is a 2-year, $60 million left, or you waive him like you just did. Sure, you get rid of him, but $15 million this year is guaranteed, so that's going to go against the cap, which severely limits what you're able to do in the offseason. But yeah, even if they're able to trade him, they're not getting anything back. They're probably going to give up picks, which they're already limited to, in order to get rid of him. So it's going to be interesting to see where he signs. He's most likely signing with maybe the Celtics. He's going to be ring chasing. That's the reality of it. In terms of what Phoenix is going to do, they are very limited in what they can do because of the aforementioned cap hit and the players that are available. So I don't know. Van Fleet may be the best option, but I don't know what they can really do.
I think Van Fleet was trying to get paid, though. So I don't think he's going to take a pay cut to play with them.
Yeah. Could they do something with like Van Fleet where they put like can they do that in the NBA where they end-load the contract where the first year he won't get that much money because of the CP3 hit, and then put bigger numbers later on or something?
You could definitely have contracts where they front load it. Definitely do that. There's plenty of guys who have time. Miles Turner, his contract was front loaded in Indiana. That's why he's going to be a lot less difficult to trade in the offseason, because he's making a little bit of money on the second half. He's making on the second half of his deal. So I think he's got like 2 years left. So in the process of him having 2 years left, all of them made the bigger part of the money of that contract has already been paid. So that's a part of that money. That's why it's going to be less difficult to move him. He shouldn't. If Indiana wanted to move him, they could have that. They do have that option. They don't have a problem with moving him.
Right. So I was thinking they can maybe do that with like a Fan Fleet, where instead of front loaded it, they back loaded. So it's not the big cap hit the first year when we don't have that much cap space, and then put more money on the back end. Maybe I don't know. Maybe that's an option. I don't know. I'm just throwing stuff out there.
Right.
I would just be worried
for
that,
someone
like you
like
guys are mentioning, a guy like Fred VanVleet right now, he's looking to get paid. So I don't think they can afford that.
Yes, he is.
The way that I see, a Chris Paul, regardless of whatever team he's on, the main problem is he's not reliable enough to be the lead guard in the situation. I feel like if you get, I don't know which guys are out there, but I feel if you have like a lead guard and like a Derek White caliber guard as a starting, or kind of rotating the minutes with CP3, it could kind of take the load off of him. Whereas it's kind of like the Kyle Lowry situation, where they just have a bunch of guards who just kind of run the point by committee, whereas you don't want to have CP3 be the main guy handling all those responsibilities. So I don't know who's out there, but someone that caliber.
What about someone like James Harden? It's unrealistic because right now it's between Philly and Houston reportedly, but maybe somehow Phoenix can sneak in, but I don't know.
I hate James Harden in Phoenix, to be honest with you. I don't like
Right.
James Harden.
That's a lot of that. If they get James Harden,
I hate James Harden in Phoenix.
Brooklyn Nets 2.0,
I hate James Harden in Phoenix simply because of not just the fit, but I think we've seen the best of James Harden on championship teams, and there's no reason to think that with him now getting with KD another almost 2 years later, like what's going to be, I'm trying to figure out what's going to be different now than what was in Brooklyn. Well, he was hurt. Well, the reason why he was hurt was because he didn't take care of his body. What's to say that we're not going to get back to that when he gets to Phoenix? So when we get to Phoenix, and now we're also talking about a James Harden who I think on opening night he's going to be 34. So his best years are behind him. So he probably has at this level maybe 2 more years at this level. And the Eastern Conference has gotten so much tougher. He was a 20-10 guy this year who, he led the league. He led the league in assists 100%. But we saw who he was in the playoffs, and that's him.
Super.
So when if he gets to Phoenix, there's no reason to think that that's going to change because he's running with Kevin Durant and Book. And
no way.
There's no reason to think that that's going to change. No reason. That's who he is.
I would love a younger guard, somebody who can facilitate and play defense first and foremost, play defense and just knock down an open three. We don't need a superstar type level guard. We just need somebody who can facilitate, knock down an open shot, and play defense. I would love somebody like Caruso, Alonzo Ball if healthy. Somebody like of that. Obviously Alonzo Ball is really good, but somebody of that vein who can play D, facilitate, and knock down a three. That's all we need.
Gary Trent Jr. was a free agent.
Even something like that, I wouldn't think that would be a bad pickup. Somebody who can play defense, knock down a three, and just move the ball. We don't need you to be a great facilitator, offensive weapon. We don't need that. Just knock down an open shot and play defense.
Well, you mentioned Alonzo Ball. How would you feel if the pickup? It's kind of a low risk pickup. How about a guy like Kobe White? How would you feel about that fit?
No, Kobe White is a rotation guard. Guys like Kobe White, Cameron Payne.
I don't see him being a good lead guard.
These are rotation guards. These aren't guards that are going to lead your unit. Quigley, Shake Milton. These are the guards that I'm thinking about that are rotation guards more than they are actual lead guards. And I don't think that he's going to be a guy that if you get him on your crew, he's the difference. No.
One guy that really comes to mind is if the team doesn't pick up his player option is Javon Carter. I think I've seen him a lot of in Milwaukee, but he's exactly what you guys just described. A guy who's a great 3-point shooter. I think he shot like near 40%, an excellent defender, and he has like a really good repertoire with Devin Booker apparently. So I think that would be a good fit.
That wouldn't be a bad pickup. I agree. I don't know if he's your starting level point guard, but at the same time, I think he would be serviceable at that position. Knock down a shot, facilitate the offense. You know what I mean? He's lacking in some of the playmaking and stuff a little bit, but with Devin Book and KD, we don't need a ton of playmaking. We just need you to get the guys the ball in their spots. That's it.
I think that with the Phoenix Suns more than anything, and we're going to move on from here, but I think with the Phoenix Suns more than anything, it was time. It wasn't really the talent level. I mean, you had just gotten KD late in the season. Chris Paul was banged up, so you didn't even get a chance to get a training camp with these guys. Had you gotten that, kind of like what the Lakers could possibly get, then I think maybe we see a different unit. But the fact that Chris Paul was on the other side of who he used to be. Now KD comes on, and now all these expectations of these guys getting back to the NBA championship. Book misses 25 games. So there was a level of inconsistency with this Phoenix team that you guys were behind the 8 ball right from the beginning.
Sure.
Right from the beginning. So with that being said, I don't know how good this team would be with like Kobe White or another fringe, or not a fringe, I'm sorry, with another rotation guard.
Right.
Right. So appreciate y'all fellas for jumping up.
Fellas.
We're gonna move along. I got to get to these super chats, y'all.
Yes,
appreciate
sir.
y'all.
Yes, salute. Y'all have a good one, man.
Sir. Absolutely, brother. No doubt. Yeah, Big Ox, this is serious, man.
Yeah. That was the last thing I was expecting to see today was Chris Paul getting cut.
Yeah,
I mean, I was pretty sure that they were going to move him some way, somehow, or do something. But this is what I expect wasn't what I expected.
Me neither. Him getting cut? Nah, I ain't think that.
Yeah. Well, to these super chats, this was actually Jackson Williams letting us know that the Suns are waiving Chris Paul.
Thanks, brother. We appreciate it. We just found out.
Sure, man. Appreciate you for dropping that breaking news. Pimp named Slickback. Fellas, my favorite afternoon ride home show. I don't appreciate that. With the new CBA, do you think teams will morph into having one superstar, another all-star in depth rather than 2-3 supermax guys and thin roster?
Let's take it a step further than that, Pimp. What we're going to see now is we're going to see guys staying more with their units because that's where the money's going to be. Because these teams are going to tighten up the belt. Because like you just mentioned with the new CBA, so now you got the tax situation. And these teams are not going to go over the cap like they used to. Not only are they not going to go over the cap like they used to, they're not going to overspend on fringe guys like they used to. So I expect to see teams in the near future. I expect to see a lot more homegrown talent. So expect to see what the Boston Celtics did, what the Warriors did, what Denver is doing. I expect to see what Miami's doing with 7 undrafted players. I expect to see more of that throughout the league, as opposed to guys jumping around from team to team and getting a supermax guy. Well, as we all know, a supermax guy is primarily on that team. I think you need 8 years, if I'm not mistaken. I believe it's an 8 years of service. You got to be up for league MVP. You got to be an All NBA performer. I think you got to be on an All League defensive team. Something. I'm not 100% sure about the All-League defensive team, but I think that's part of it. You either have to be on an All-NBA team or the All-League defensive team. And I think that you're going to see more teams with more homegrown talent and paying their guys and staying home more than you're going to see these guys jumping around. Because I think that where they play, where they originally got drafted, that's where the money's going to be.
Facts. Appreciate that super chat, Pimp named Slickback. Moving on to BD. This new ownership in Phoenix is going to be a downfall.
Well, why is it? Why do you think it's going to be a downfall, BD? Because I understand a guy like Monty Williams, but again, this new ownership, they may not have liked the direction that the crew was going in. Don't forget, Monty Williams got out coached against Jason Kidd in the Western Conference semifinals last year, and they got smoked on their home floor. Well, then you bring in this new group. You bring in this new group. You bring KD in, and then they get served in 6 games in the West semis again. Now that's not. I don't think that's Monty Williams' fault, but I think the new ownership. When you get new ownership, it's like being a coach, particularly on the college level. When you're a coach and you get the job, more than likely you're going to want your guys in there. So this new ownership probably looked at Chris Paul, probably looked at Monty Williams and decided, how do I feel about these guys? And I'll tell you one more thing, BD. Don't be surprised if the same thing is going on in Milwaukee in a year or two, because they got new ownership up there too. So don't be surprised.
When you say that, are you insinuating?
Yeah, well, I don't know Giannis. I don't know Giannis. I just got this team, and I do know that I have 100% a showstopper. I got box office, but I don't really know Giannis like that. So I'm not sure whether or not this thing would. I don't know if this thing is going to work long term. Did we already maximize not just Giannis, but did we already maximize this group? Do I want to continue to build around Giannis? These are the things that new ownership thinks about when they bring it in, when they get the job, or when they get a team. Does that mean that Giannis isn't still awesome? I still think Giannis is the best player in the game. But new ownership may be looking at him. I don't really know him. I don't know what his story is. So what's the plan moving forward with him? Remember, Big Ox, Jerry Krause did not draft Michael Jordan. He did not. He drafted everybody else. Jay was not his guy. He built that unit around Jay, but he built that unit around Jay with his draft picks for everybody else. That doesn't mean that Jay wasn't awesome. It was just, yo, this is my crew. We do have this one awesome player, and I'm going to build my unit around him. But I got to check this dude's temperature to see where he at. Can we build it around him? And in 1986, when they was in the NBA playoffs against the Boston Celtics, he saw it and goes, okay, we got our franchise player. I can build this thing around him. And he did that.
Right. Definitely. I mean, that was a good point. So it wasn't in my mind anywhere to think that this new ownership up in Milwaukee might actually consider moving. That's a good thought. I'm gonna keep that in mind. When it's time, that's gonna be breaking news.
Yep.
But before I get to this next super chat, let me shout out some of our GOAT members. We have IDWC, Haramis MR, and also Avion Plumber. If you want to be a GOAT member, just click on that join button. No, it's painless, no big deal.
Sir.
Moving on to these next couple super chats, though. Paolo C. Media says the Suns are going after Fred VanVleet.
Is Fred VanVleet, Big Ox? I mean, you know how you felt about Kyle Lowry? I kind of feel that way about VanVleet.
Really?
Like I don't know if he's my lead guard that we winning it with him, because that's where Phoenix is. Phoenix is a team that, like, the window is cracked. The window ain't wide open like it was for the Sacramento Kings from 2000 to 2003 or 2004. The window is cracked right now. KD he'll be 35 on opening night, right? Book is getting older, but Book in year 8, he's in the prime of his career. KD is getting older, so we don't know what we're doing with DeAndre Ayton. Fred VanVleet is a guy who is a fringe all-star, not just a fringe all-star, but he's also a guy that you got to put the right pieces around him. I think he has not put the right pieces around him. He has to fit into a piece as opposed to building it around him. So if he were to play for Phoenix, how does he mesh with this unit? His skill set, he can shoot the long ball 100%. He can do that, but he also can be a really inefficient shooter. In terms of a distributor. He could be one of the best at times, but he could also be shaky. And when you think about the Western Conference, you're going to need elite guard play in order to move forward. Is Fred VanVleet that guy that's going to push you over the top, as opposed to him just being good?
My personal take on that is yes. I think with Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, I think Fred VanVleet can take us to that championship area. At Context, you got your mic set or nah?
Yeah, I'm good money. I'm good money now.
What's the word, fellas? Context. We got Adrian in here. Context. We got Desto. What's going on in the NBA today? Besides Game 3, which we still are going to we still are going to get to Game 3, y'all. But let's work on this. What are we seeing, y'all?
I think what we're seeing is teams are starting to react to the CBA. I think some teams are going to start becoming more proactive with the CBA. I think there are 6 teams, right, who are in that second tax bracket, right? It's the Clippers, the Lakers, the Celtics, the Warriors, the Suns. I think the Mavs are also in that tax bracket, if someone can correct me. And what are the restrictions again, right? You can't use the MLE. You can't trade your draft pick for 7 years in advance. All these kind of restrictions, right? So you cannot improve the team, basically. I think the Suns are going to be one of the few teams who've looked at that and said, it's not worth paying Chris Paul anymore. We're going to cut him. I can understand why you guys think that's the right decision or not. I think some teams might want to take advantage on that, especially if CP is willing to take a wage cut. That could be a pretty valuable asset. But I think we're going to see a lot of cuts, man. I think we're going to see a lot of cuts this offseason. So,
100%. Yes, 100%.
I think
yes.
I'll give you a good example. I think Grant Williams is gone from Boston. I think he's gone.
Yeah, for sure.
He's gone.
What are you basing that on?
Is he like a free agent? So
yeah, he
I
wants
think
to.
Jordan
He wants
Poole
to
and
be paid.
Kuminga, they might also be gone as well.
Well, the Warriors definitely got to cut salary.
100%.
The Warriors got to.
Boston seriously have to cut it. I would not be surprised if what's the name? The Clippers cut a couple people because they have to. They've got one of the most loaded rosters, and with the way that Westbrook was playing, don't be surprised if Reggie Jackson gets cut from that roster.
Well, Reggie Jackson is in Denver. Right now.
Oh no, sorry, he's gone. Sorry, Denver. Don't be surprised if he gets cut
Harden?
from Denver as well.
Yeah, he's in Denver.
Oh, Denver,
The question with Russ is, can the Clippers even afford him?
Oh yeah, that's true.
That's the $1 million question because he's a free agent.
Right.
I think
the same thing.
That's the thing.
I think it's the same thing with Philly. That's why I think Philly might make a push towards Chris Paul. And then, like you said, Chill, there was a time where you said that you wanted to see the ball in Maxi's hands a little bit more, right? You wanted to see what he can do. You want to see, can he prove all the flashes that we're seeing? Is it sustainable, right? And I think with Chris Paul playing those minutes and still, keeping those other guards, the Miltons, the Meltons of the world, that way you can kind of still maneuver around, but have your offense focus more so on Maxi. And what that does schematically, right? It forces Embiid to be more of a low post player because you're not going to spam P&R with Chris Paul effectively all the time. Of course, you're going to get those same shots, but it's not going to be the same at the same efficiency that you were getting it with James Harden. You get what I'm saying? So I think Chris Paul would set the table for them. And also, I agree with that. Either Philly, my top three would be Philly, the Lakers because of their tempo and how you'll be able to manipulate the rest of the players with Chris Paul's facilitation and his ability to recognize who got the hot hand, feeling the pace and tempo. And then the third would be the Pelicans, barring Zion's healthy. I think it would relieve CJ McCollum of playmaking. I think it would relieve Brandon Ingram of playmaking, and I think it would help accentuate what they're there to be, bucket getters. Yeah,
for sure.
Now remember, I think this is year 4 now that we're going into with Zion.
Right.
This is it for me. If he breaks down again, and I get another season-ending injury from him, I'm out.
5,
yeah, it's over.
Is this year 5?
I think he's going into year 5. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is his 5th year. Yeah.
So we going into year 5, right? So because he came in with Ja.
He's missed so much time.
Yeah, he came in with Ja.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
He came in with Ja. Okay, so we're in year 5. I'm letting you guys know right now. If he breaks down again, and when I say breaks down, I know he's going to get hurt. But if it's to a point where I'm getting 30 games out of him, I'm out. I'm out right now.
He breaking down right now.
Or it's listen, yo. That's what I'm about to say that right now.
That's for different reasons, though.
Let's go.
That's different reasons, though.
Whole time, I thought Zion's problem was po' boys and gumbo.
Right.
Hey, no one he got all them leg injuries.
Right.
All right. Man. Keep it classy, fellas. Keep it classy.
You see what Melo was doing? Melo said, "I need my legs, man." He was to save his legs. I need to save his legs.
That's though. Let me see. Real quick, Adrian. Desto, did we get your take on this whole Chris Paul? I had to step away for a quick moment.
Oh no,
Okay, I'm very curious about your take on this, Desto. What do you think is going on in Phoenix? Where's Chris Paul going? Who is taking his shoes? Is this a good move, a bad move? Is this driven by everything they had to give up for Kevin Durant? What's the goings-ons in the desert?
Now I was a bit surprised when I found out that he was released because I had a feeling that they was gonna like trade him, but like I still think Chris Paul can hoop. I don't think he's just a like a starting guard, starting point guard who give you like 36 minutes a night, things like that. But I definitely think it's still a place, like a real place from the league, because he's still smart. He can still operate in the pick and roll effectively, not as consistent as he was once in the past. But I do think there's some teams that can get him. I think the Suns maybe can bring him back. Like I was reading something that said they waived him, but they can bring him back on a smaller contract or something like that.
They could do that, yeah.
I think if Boston keeps their duo together, I think he will be key for them to bring in some IQ, bring in some playmaking, just something that can help them out. Because I think it's backup guards who like look at Kyle Lowry. Look at the role Kyle Lowry playing right now. I definitely think Chris Paul can do that for a team. And Kyle Lowry's coming up.
Maybe even be better.
Yeah, even better. I think I look at Dennis Schroeder. Dennis Schroeder was a pretty good backup for the Lakers. I think Chris Paul could do something of that nature. So I definitely think it's roles for him in the league, especially with contenders who need playmaking, who need ball handling, who need IQ, who need different sparks. And I definitely think he could bring that. Now, if he thinks he's still a guy that's going play the whole game.
There's your problem. There's your problem. That's when the problem.
But
that's your problem.
But if he understands where he's at in his career, he can definitely bring value to contenders.
Now, do you have anyone in mind, Desto?
Hey, you know who I got in mind.
Oh, the Lakers.
Come on.
What was you saying? Chill, my bad.
Hey, look, no. Because I ain't like I really think. I don't know. I think he is only because like I haven't gotten into the basketball aspect of it. It's just because I mean he LeBron guy. Like LeBron didn't play with D-Wade. He got Melo on the Lakers. So I don't know. That's part of it. I think it's gonna happen. But
I actually think it's number one, when you get to that level, like Chris Paul, when you're that elite guard and you've been that elite for a long time. The transition from being elite to now being a rotation guard. I mean, that's different. That's difficult for a lot of guys. But I think this is brilliant I think it's brilliant on the part of the Phoenix Suns, considering, well, if they cut him, this money goes against the cap, right? This money goes against the cap, but we still got him on the roster at the vet minimum, so we paying him anyway. So we might as well hold on to him 100%. And see what we can get out of him. And maybe, just maybe, if he starts to play well, so let's say Chris Paul gives us something of value and we're at the trade deadline and one of these contenders like him and they're willing to give us a 1.
Yes.
They may be willing to give us a number 1 for him. And maybe a rotate. As of right now, I know a 1 is asking a lot. I know a 1 is asking a lot, but I tell you what, my man, when you are playing good, teams they have tunnel vision and they live in the right now. So if you get Chris Paul coming up to the All-Star break, he's 19-9, and the team is 8 on an 8. Yeah, and they're on an 8-game win streak. And hey, I see that the Magic, they are. They 2 games out the play-in tournament. How you feel about this dude right here? Would you be willing to hand over a 1? I think he could really help Cole Anthony as a vet. I think he could really help your guard.
I knew you was going to say Orlando. I knew he was going to say that because actually I wanted to say because I was actually I was going to ask you that question. That was going to flip into what you was about to say. I was saying if Chris Paul is cool with not contending and he just wants to keep playing. Obviously, a cool place for him to play would be in Orlando. Like, I'm curious to see how he would fit with all of those scorers and all of those, young guys, how he would fit and mold in, those guys. Another would be OKC. I would be really curious to see how he would play with OKC. Now, the thing about it is that it will kind of take away from Josh Giddey. So that's why I said I got to rein that back in. But I think, obviously, like you said, you could flip him. If he plays well, you can flip him for a younger guard and say, hey, listen, I know Chris, look, we can flip him. I know he ain't doing it for us right now, but he might do something for y'all. You know what I mean? So
I ain't gonna lie, I gotta push this agenda because people I was trolling before.
Conscious, really quickly, Conscious, honey, she kind of nice, but she ain't really my type. So, I've been seeing her for a little while.
You know what I mean?
She ain't whack. I don't think she whack, but you
cool. She cool.
You can get with her. You can get with her. I mean, don't let the fact that I was with her for a little while because again,
that might be your flavor. That might be your type of speed.
She just speed right there. You might be able to, and that's kind of what Phoenix would be selling to Orlando. That's something that they might be selling to them.
Yes.
Hey, OG. So what kind of role do you think like Chris Paul like what level of player do you think he is, and do you think okay, now I want you to answer that question first. Like what do you think he is now?
I think he's Kyle Lowry. I think he could be a better version of Kyle Lowry in terms of a rotation guy. I think he would be great for a guy like Cole Anthony, right? I think he would be great for a guy like Darius Garland. I think he would be great for him, right? Because these guys, they have a coach, but the majority of these guys, they are learning on the fly. To have a guy like Chris Paul play behind you. Why do you think Rondo was who he was? Why do you think that happened in Cleveland when Rondo screwed? I think when Rubio screwed up his knee, Rondo was really pushing these guys. So to have a guy like that in your rotation, to have a guy like Chris Paul in your rotation, I'm cool on the notion of Chris Paul wants to play for a contender. My man, we already seen you on contenders. We already seen that.
I'm just trying to pack him up.
When we've seen him on contenders, like it was always like the Clippers, the Rockets, the Suns. He was always the number 2 guy. But in that role you're talking about him in, he'll be like you said, a rotation backup point guard, and he's taking a reduced role. And I think that's where he brings value to a contender. And I don't think as much as you think he can help Cole Anthony or Markelle Fultz or whoever Paolo Banchero, like those guys. I don't think that's what Chris Paul is looking for right now.
No, he's not. No, he don't. He's not. He's not in a teacher role. Even though he would be great for those guys, right?
Right.
I think he would. I think he would be great for those guys. But he'd much rather. I mean, we're talking about a guy over the last 5 years. His team's been in the playoffs. He's been in the man. Been in the NBA Finals. So he still wants to see that. Only problem is we got to transition you from being in the corner office to now you got to move down to the 5th floor.
Yeah,
and
you think he's willing to do that?
Yeah, I think so. On the right team, yes.
He's going to have to be.
Right.
He's going to have to be.
Get him with Billy Donovan, man.
Because like dudes like Billy Donovan, like in Chicago, no.
That's my agenda. I don't think Memphis. That's the perfect destination for him. But yeah.
All right, fellas.
Oh no, go ahead.
No, go ahead because I'm about to wrap. I'm about to move on. So go ahead, get that off. That's all you got.
Okay, no. I was just gonna say like real contending teams. Like I like I said, Boston. I think he would be good for it if he goes back to Phoenix. He take like a reduced role. I would like that.
What about Philly?
If Philly, maybe. That would be cool. If
first of all, who is Philly's lead guard? Because James Harden comes off the books. Yeah. So who is their lead guard?
So they're a question mark. Or if the Bucks are unable to retain Javon Carter, he could be like a backup. But I can see him on a few contenders. But if he a backup for the Lakers, I wouldn't mind that either.
In fact, you loving that. Keep it 100.
Lakers for sure. LA.
You loving that. And it's cool that you are.
The banana boat guys.
I just want to say one thing. I know. Trust me, it's not gonna be long with it. I promise. I just want to say one thing about the game that's coming up. One thing that and it's a reference to Chill's boxing acumen. If you notice, a lot of people saying like, oh, those BAM touches in the post and in the mid post, they're not really doing anything. I just want to put some ism in your ear. So what happens is, like you said, those are definitely soft jabs, right? Soft jabs, couple of combinations, and what Spoelstra is doing is to soften up the defense and make them think one thing. And then if you notice throughout the game, what they start to do is they take Bam from the low post and let him get those ISO touches, to then they bring him out to the mid post, and then eventually to the 3-point line, because if you notice, that's when they have a lot of their shooters out, Duncan Robinson. So now all of those pick and rolls, all of those dives, yes. And the knockout punch is the alley-oops and the dives. So if you notice, what they'll do is they don't mind, sacrificing empty points and empty calories with the Jimmy Butler jump shot, the Jimmy Butler post up. It's just to get them off for the real offense is about to unload, which is really the spacing, the cutting, the movement, stuff like that nature. So it's just just one thing I picked up on, and you picked up one too as well, Chill. But it's definitely a reference to your boxing acumen. Keep those hands up. Keep those hands up. All right, man. Salute, fellas. Salute.
Easy.
You already know.
Easy.
All right, Tex. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
It's getting real. So obviously we do need to kind of shift gear into what's going on today, the game 3 of the finals. But let me touch a couple more of these super chats before I do that. My man Sports PSP. Better scorer, James Harden or Adrian Dantley?
Adrian Dantley was pure buckets, and he got his stuff on the box. He wasn't the transition player that James Harden was, and he couldn't shoot the long ball like James Harden, but he was a better low post scorer. He was just as good as James Harden at the free throw line. And he was good in the playoffs too. Adrian Dantley was damn good in the playoffs. If I had to pick one, I think in terms of versatility, James Harden may get the edge. But from a production standpoint, I mean, Adrian Dantley averaged 30 a game for almost 6 years. He was buckets. Straight buckets.
Spoo. Hey, OG, can you name the best player from every season since 2000?
Shaq.
So you're gonna do this? Who was the overall better player from each season? Okay, 2000.
Shaq. 2001. Shaq. 2002. I want to say Duncan. 2003. Duncan. 2004. Who was the best player in the game? Duncan. 2005. Duncan. 2006. Bryant. It was between him and James. I thought at that point. Shaq was on the other side of who he was. It was between Duncan, Bryant, and James. And
in 06, you talking right now?
Yeah, in 06.
Dirk didn't have a
I was thinking 07 was Duncan. I mean, of Dirk. I think 07 Dirk was the best player in the game in 07. Even though Duncan was still awesome, I think James was becoming that guy. But I think you can make a legit argument Dirk was the best player in the game in 2007. Even though they lost in the first round of the playoffs, I did feel like he was right there as the best player in the game. 2008, I think that I still felt like James was the better player than Bryant in 2008, 2009. And 2010, but what Bryant had done from a production standpoint, I thought Bryant was the best. I couldn't deny what Bryant was, even though I felt like James was the better player in terms of skill set. I just felt like James was better, but from a production standpoint, I couldn't fight. From him winning the league MVP in 2008, him winning the NBA championship in 2008, 2009, and in 9-10. Even though James won the MVP in back-to-back seasons, I felt like James was better, but I couldn't deny that Bryant, for what he did, if I'm staying consistent, that's the best player on the planet, because that's the separator to winning the NBA championship. That's the best player on the planet. So I couldn't deny that. So in 2011, I thought it was James. 2012, James. 2013, James. 2014, James. 2015, James. 2016, James. 2017, James. 2018, James. 2019, James.
Yeah. What about 20, 21, 22?
2020, I think you can make an argument for Giannis. Back-to-back league MVPs, 100%. Defensive player of the year. Even though James would have won, if COVID hadn't shut the season out, James would have won the league MVP in 20. He had led the league in scoring. The Lakers was at the top of the Western Conference. Not only were they at the top of the Western Conference, they were on pace to win over 60 games that year. And he had outplayed Giannis the second time that they played them, which matters when you're talking about league MVP votes. So I think Giannis got the edge because he ended up. But I felt like James in 2020 winning the MVP. Winning the NBA championship, winning the Finals MVP. I think that he was right there. 21. I think that was the year of Giannis. And in 22, I still feel like Giannis. And in this year, I still feel like it's Giannis, but I think Joker got something to say about that. He got something loud to say about that.
Whose peak was better, Penny Hardaway or Derrick Rose?
Derrick Rose at his best was the league MVP, right? Derrick Rose at his best, 25, and I think he was 25, 7 and 4. Team won 60 games. Penny Hardaway at his best, because Penny Hardaway still ended up making all-star teams, but at his best, I think 96 was probably Penny Hardaway at his best. It would have to be Derrick Rose, considering won the league MVP, 25 a game. Yeah, I think it was Derrick Rose at his best at that time. But what I don't want to do is I don't want to overhype the Derrick Rose, because a lot of people, Ox, what they do is that league MVP, they have a tendency to get on this Derrick Rose train where we got to talk about Derrick Rose like we talk about Russell Westbrook, like we talk about Steve Nash, like we talk about Chris Paul, like we talk about all the all-time great point guards. He was not that good.
Right.
Injuries derailed him. He was on his way to being that good, but injuries derailed him. He was not that good. He wasn't.
Okay. Tyson Thomas says, just heard Suns owner on the radio, quote, "We're not letting money stop us from being successful."
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Team bosses always say that. Yo, this ain't about money. Yeah, it is. Yes, it is.
If it's not about money, what are we doing here?
Right, exactly. And not only that, the reason why you cut Chris Paul was, again, to get him off your books for that kind of money, even though you're paying him, but then bring him back for the vet minimum. I mean, there we go.
Right.
This is definitely about money. Yes. It's always been about bread, and it always will be about bread. No, 100%. It's about bread.
What's going on, y'all? Everybody,
What's going on?
What up?
How y'all feel about
What up?
today?
Can you hear me? My mic good?
Yep.
Yeah,
What up, D?
Red?
What up?
What up, OG? Shout out to you.
What up?
What's going on?
It kind of came out of left field for me as far as the CP3 thing. I feel like it was something they need.
Why though, D? Because we see him anyway. He on the other side, so
right. No, I agree with you.
We knew this was coming at some point, right?
Right. Yeah. But I mean, I guess personal feelings is involved. Just hearing that wave, like, damn, it's really over for CP. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's really the beginning of the end. So I guess it's more personal than, you know what I'm saying, actual basketball. But I understand why it was done for sure.
Hey, can I ask y'all something though?
Okay.
How y'all feel about CP3 in Golden State or Memphis?
He ain't playing for the Warriors. No, he ain't doing that. He's not going
for the
to
Warriors.
Let's kill that right now. He is not going to play for the Warriors. No.
And I feel like Memphis got bigger problems than
Way
you know
bigger.
what I'm saying, than a backup point guard or a league. Like they got to worry about their team. You got, if we want to go from the end of the season, we got Jaren Jackson and Desmond Bane throwing the teammate under the bus. You got your Dylan Brooks going crazy, and a lot of people believe that's the reason, you know what I'm saying, y'all was out in 6 games. You know what I'm saying? Ja play style. He almost cracked his head open trying to dunk on. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a lot more to worry about than Chris Paul. So, no. Him to Memphis, no.
Plus, let's not forget, Memphis got the best backup guard in the game in Tyus Jones. We don't need another one. We straight.
I feel he a lead guard. I feel like 25, 30 minutes a game as a starting point guard. I feel like, he got the lowest assist to turnover ratio. I think last year he had it. You know what I'm saying? He played enough minutes to where you ain't going to look at it like, oh, he played 15 minutes. No, he was playing, you know what I'm saying, starter like minutes, and he had that. So
what about the Spurs, though? Seeing as they getting that first pick with Victor, I don't see that as a bad pickup either.
That might be good.
That wouldn't be bad.
I don't think it's terrible, but I don't think he's interested in going. I think he's going to – I'm not really sure how his options are going to look. And the reason why I'm saying that is because if you look at Phoenix, what they did, sure, they cut him because of monetary reasons. But don't think for 1 second that they didn't check the temperature of other people to find out what this dude's value was, right? You got this car sitting in the parking lot, and all it's doing is giving you problems. And then you check the temperature. You put this car on the wire to find out what it's worth, and ain't nobody interested in buying it.
Right.
So eventually you're gonna be like, well, damn, this car don't really have that much value. So it's probably best if I just gave it away.
That's what I'm saying.
Really
they definitely probably shopped him around.
I'm sure they did.
Interested, like
what you think we can get for him? And the word came back that not much.
I will say with the hiring of Frank Vogel, I think that means DeAndre Ayton gonna be kept around because I feel like he's gonna preach that everything we wanted him to do. You know what I'm saying? This past postseason, as far as you not getting your shots, I need you 15 plus rebounds. I need at least 2 blocks. I need, you know what I'm saying? Dive into the cup. If you're not getting the ball, open up the lane. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like Frank Vogel is going to preach that to him. I think that's going to be good for him. A defensive-minded coach.
Let's not forget, too, D. He turned Roy Hibbert into an all-star. I could do that with him, too.
And that's exactly who I thought about. I
could do that with him.
More talented, I feel.
I think Ayton better than Roy Hibbert. And I think that if you involve him more in the O, then I think that you're going to get more out of him. Now, I do understand that there are guys who, if you involve them more in the O, that doesn't necessarily translate to wins. Maybe Phoenix is that kind of team where it doesn't translate to wins before, but now we're in a situation with Book, with KD. You're going to get another lead guard in here who is going to implement Ayton more into the offense. And getting Ayton more into the offense, what that would mean is more rebounds, more shots for KD, more scoring opportunities for Book. Right. So if you're doing that, that's maximizing Ayton as opposed to, well, I'm going to give him the ball on the block every once in a while. And then you're going to see stuff like him folding up against Joker. I think I'd like to think I don't know if he's tougher than that. I've said this to Ox a bunch of times. I'm walking into practice with Ayton and I'm starting to fight with him. I'm just going to start a fight with him.
I mean, certain players need that kick in it. I mean, shit, I needed it. You know, and my mama did that to me all the time. You know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna start a fight with him. Logic, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're not doing what you're supposed to do. I got to try something. Talking to you, not getting it done.
Yep.
Showing you on film, not getting it done.
Yep. I'm gonna start a fight with him.
You know, benching you, not getting it done.
Nope.
Might have to smack you in the back of the head or something. You know what I'm saying? That might get your attention.
Showtime, when you say you're gonna start a fight with him, do you mean you're gonna get at him like verbally and make him fight you, or you just walk up and you just bow still?
I'm straight. I'm straight getting in his face. I'm putting my hands on him and I'm pushing him and I'm gonna turn him up. And
I think a hard foul in practice would do it. Like everybody, you know what I'm saying? Everybody going 50%, you going for a layup, boom. Right here in the top.
I'm gonna turn him up. Yeah. And even if he does swing on me, everybody gonna see that and be like, we got him. Good. Now we that toughness.
But the thing is, like certain players though, like, is that something DeAndre Ayton will react to and carry that on into the play? Or is that something that would alienate him from the team? You know what I'm saying? Like, not knowing what his teammate is trying to get out of him. Is that something that would push him, or is that something that, man, I ain't dealing with this?
I'll do it again.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm going to do it again. And the reason why I'm going to do it again, because he's going to know why I'm doing it. I ain't doing it just because I'm picking on you. I ain't doing it just because no, I'm doing it because, my man, we not winning without you. And you not being tough, that's going to kill us. So stuff like this is going to be the difference. And when he see that, he know when he sees me every day that this dude is going to be after me. So I got to be on my job. So I'm coming into practice. I'm starting to fight with him. I am. 100%. So, all right, fellas.
Breezy, you there?
Yeah, I'm right here.
What up, Breezy?
Chilling like a villain. I think Chris Paul got that KD gave that elbow to the GM, like, yo, you know, and he didn't help Booker in that stretch that he was with him. You know, New Orleans Pelicans gave him a hard time the year before. I think what's his name, Grand Theft Alvarado. He gave him Chris Paul a hard time the season before in the playoffs, and in this season he was hurt, so he couldn't help Booker. So it made sense for the Suns to do what they did. I respect it, and I know this is going to be short-lived. So again, I seen Chill the other day on his podcast, and he was like, "Yo, you know, the teams got to do their homework." So I went out and did the liberty of doing the homework and found out the Nets and Knicks didn't Lillard. in 2012 with getting Gerard Wallace in a trade for a loosely protected first round pick, which became Dame Lillard. And when I looked, Dame Lillard averaged 18-4 or 18.6 coming out of college, and he was the rookie of the year that next season. And I looked and seen there was like a good 5 to 10 point guards this season coming in the draft, averaging 20 points per. So there's a lot of point guards coming out the draft, averaging 20 points per, could do exactly what Dame Lillard did. I think the Brooklyn Nets need to move off Dame Lillard. I've seen Dame Lillard say Miami 3 times first before the Brooklyn Nets. I don't think we need to stress him. Let him do whatever he's going to do. And we need to focus on the draft and that 21st and 22nd pick, trying to get somebody as a point guard that could be explosive as a point guard. I know I'm not going to be alone.
The lead scout for the Portland Trailblazers called back home, called up the general manager of the Portland Trailblazers and said, "Yo, I found our point guard. I think that I found our point guard." Well, where is he? He's at UCLA. He's in University of Utah. He's in the Pac-10. He's in Weber State. His name is Damian Lillard. Who? I'm telling you, this is our point guard over the next 10 years. We got him. And that's doing your homework, right? That's doing your homework. That's somebody that's been watching a guy. That's not somebody who just saw him and just was like, well, he might be. No, that's a guy who's been watching somebody over the course of his career and going, yo, that's my point guard right there. I've been watching this guy for the last 2 years. Ain't nobody paying attention to him. I've been seeing him 2 years ago when he first showed up at Weber State as a freshman. I started watching him as a sophomore. I don't mean me particularly because that's not true. I didn't. But you start watching this guy early and then nobody's really paying attention to him. Next thing you know, that's what happens. You call back home and you go, yo, our point guard is right here at Weber State. His name is Damian Lillard. This is our point guard for the next 10 years. This is the guy that's going to get us over the top. Prime example, Big Ox, would be Jerry Krause, the general manager of the assistant general manager of the Chicago Bulls. Basically got on the phone and said, Jerry, you need to get down here to Portsmouth. What's down there? Yo, I just found out small forward for the next 10 years. His name is Scott Pippen. You need to come down here and you need to see him. And I don't mean come down here in a couple of days. I mean today. You need to get down here right now. That's doing your homework.
Fuel up the jet, man.
That's doing your homework.
Right. So I know we started talking about it. We was talking about legacy talk, and Chris Paul just took us all the way off the bro.
We somewhere else.
But let's get back to it. Mm-hmm. Okay, game 3. What do you expect to see today from? Let's start with the away squad. What do we expect to see from Denver today?
I expect that offense to be a little bit more fluent than what it was. I expect it to be sharper than what it was. I definitely expect the effort to be better. I don't expect the Miami Heat to come out, even though they're home. I don't expect them to come out and punch Denver in the face like they did in game 2.
Right.
In the first quarter and in the third quarter. I expect that effort to be there, and I expect it to be there for the entire game. That's the thing that I'm not even concerning myself with. I think that the offense is going to be better. I think Joker is going to be more engaged in getting guys open shots. Not only getting guys open shots, I think guys will be making open shots more than they did because the effort's going to change. So that's what I expect to see from Denver. That's why I think Denver's going to win this game.
Okay, so, but even if you got Denver winning, what do you expect to see from Miami? Are they getting prepared for that counteroffensive from Denver?
Yes, they are. And I think that I don't think Spo's going to pull a rabbit out of his hat because I think that you've probably seen any and everything that you're going to see from him. So I think that he knows that being home, I got to get my crew to understand that just because we're home, that doesn't mean that this thing is just going to translate. That effort has to be there. I don't think that he has to worry about the effort being there because it's going to be there, but making sure that we know because we're home, that doesn't mean that this is going to translate from what we did out in Denver. We still got to pick our spots. Our offense still has to be fluid. We still got to get on the backboard. Not only get on the backboard, we still got to defend at a high rate. We can't have dumb fouls. We have to play in the space that we're in. We got to play in that space. We got to play smart. That matchup zone has to be efficient. So when we get Joker in the middle of that zone, we have to do a conservative job to not collapse as much so these guys don't get open looks because we know Joker first is looking for other guys. Now, when he gets a guy like Gabe Vincent, when he gets a guy like Caleb Martin on him, he's going to go after him. But for the most part, he's looking for Aaron Gordon in the dunker spot. He's looking for Jamal Murray cross court. He's looking for Michael Porter in transition. So when they're in that zone, they got to make sure that zone is wide. Not only do they have to make sure that zone is wide, they got to make sure that it's active. Otherwise, this is going to be a long night for Miami Heat.
I can't wait to see how it plays out. As you know, I said how I feel about it earlier. I think Miami wins this one by about 12 plus.
You liked Miami before the series started. You was already digging Miami before the series started. You was feeling them.
Yeah. We just got a couple minutes. Let me grab a couple of these guys in here real quick. Let's get some of their takes in on tonight's game. Leave Diggy. We got Sid. We got Emmanuel.
Yep.
What's up, fellas? Real quick, and BD, you
What
are here
up?
too.
This shit is over with.
Hey, fellas, we not gonna be able to keep y'all up too long. So let's not be too long winded.
Chilltown, this series is over with. The Miami should win the next 3 games and easily. They have figured out this puzzle. Whatever everything that Denver is running, they figure out how to like somewhat counter-react it. If anytime you got your role players playing the way and having the confidence that they playing, from Duncan Robinson to Vincent to Strus, Lowry, Kevin Love, Caleb Martin, anytime you got them with the confidence, it's not a damn thing that Denver could do. That Denver is not going to go on the bench and play none of their reserves. They're not going to go to the bench with for Thomas Bryant or Bobby Jackson or Ish Smith. And if they do go to the bench for them, they're gonna get cooked anyway. Because
so you don't think Denver? You don't think Denver winning another game in this series?
This series is over.
That's crazy.
This series is damn over, bro. I was fooled. That Denver had me fooled, bro. Like they definitely had me fooled because they not gonna change a damn thing. They listen. It's the thing. The thing with Denver is if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And if it is broke, F it. We ain't got nothing to fix it no way. That's Denver in a nutshell. They not gonna fix nothing. I'm telling you, they're going to go out there with the same game plan, hoping that Miami miss shots, and Miami ain't missing a damn thing. They going out there, they feel much more confident after that game one. And that game one, I told you about that fourth quarter on your page. I told you what happened. Miami came out of that fourth quarter and came into game 2 with a different confidence, and they got it all in their role players and all in the second unit. You see Lowry with a different spot. You see Vincent, Strus, Duncan. Anytime Duncan Robinson is knifing in your paint for N1s, this shit is over with.
Okay, let me get your take on it, Sid.
Yeah, I got the Denver Nuggets winning tonight. If they got the format set at 2-3-2, I got Denver winning 2 out of the next 3 in Miami.
No, it's 2-2-1-1-1.
Oh, they doing it that way this year?
It's not. It just changed a couple of years ago. It's not 2-3-2 no more. It's 2-2-1-1-1.
Yeah.
I still got the Nuggets in 5 or 6.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I just think it's Joker's time. You know, it just feels like everything it's for Joker right now, man. I get, to me, like I say, I just everybody say Jimmy top 5, top 10. I don't see it. I got him top 15. I probably got him French top 15, but that's about the best I can do for Jimmy, man. I don't see it, man.
No, in the game today. In the game today.
In the game
like playoffs. I say top 5. He been a top 5 performer in the playoffs, but I'm sure I can name 15 players better than Jimmy Butler. I'm sure I can.
What about you, Emmanuel?
Man, I got a big MPJ game today, man. I got Nuggets winning today. Pretty comfortably. He been shooting bad, so bad he gotta rise up his shooting variance. He shot so bad.
So he due for one. So
yeah,
telling me
he due for one. He gonna get 20 plus. 20 plus.
Okay, I see you, man. You're living life on the edge. Okay,
that's what it sounds like.
Miami
that's exactly what it sounds like.
good. They ain't doing nothing.
BD, can I get a take from you, brother?
Yeah, man. Real quick, I had dropped a comment earlier regarding the Chris Paul situation when I mentioned about ownership taking over in Phoenix.
Yeah,
I kind of wanted to address that. They got new ownership over there in Phoenix, and he's coming out really aggressive. Trading a lot of future picks for Kevin Durant, in theory, you'd look at it and think that, you're trading for Kevin Durant. But we got to acknowledge he's had some injuries in the past couple of years. He has a few years left on his contract where it's pretty big. And then most importantly, his age, right? So
he'll be 35 on opening night.
Exactly.
35.
So let's take a step back. Phoenix has been in a pretty sticky predicament post Amari Stoudemire, Steve Nash era. So they've been in a culture within the organization from the top to bottom. So when you're in a good point, I would feel like you would want to continue to build. And I'm going to put a lot of blame, to be honest. I know he's a number one pick on DeAndre Ayton as the common denominator behind a lot of this.
Yeah.
But as a new ownership, I feel like you got to be careful with how you come in and command and make moves. To be honest, Brooklyn, when the new Russian owner came in and I want Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, these big names, do you see the effect that it had?
It pushed them back 10 years. It set them back 10 years. It did. It set them back 10 years.
Us way back.
It did.
It set them back a decade.
That's my purpose.
I don't think Booker and KD gonna get. I don't even think Booker and KD gonna win a championship together. I don't even see it now.
BD, I hate to cut you off there. I wish I could have got you up earlier, but we do got to move on. Told y'all sorry it was gonna be short.
That's
but
appreciate
y'all.
That's all right. Hey, one more thing before I go. Hey, Chris Paul, good riddance. Get him up out of here. His ass is done anyway.
We already know where you at, Leaf. You with them 2010 dudes. You want all of them. You want all of them dudes gone. You want all of them 2010 dudes gone. You want all of them out. I do know that. James, Curry, Chris Paul. He want all of Damian Lillard next, by the way. He want all of them. Yeah, Leaf want all of them 2010 dudes gone.
He said, "Get your funky ass out of here."
Yeah, he want all them dudes gone. All of them.
All no Summer Leaf Diggy, man. That's my
man.
Yeah,
he wild. He's super wild.
Yeah. He came and held it down on me for a good while on that 24-hour stream I did, man. Appreciate you, Leaf Diggy. Shout out to that.
I damn sure did miss it. That's all me right here.
Oh, so it's all good. Hey, Chilltown, I'm making that not a regular thing, obviously, but I'll try to do it maybe once a month. I'm gonna see how that feels. But let's get through these super chats so that I can continue to be a W host.
Yeah.
Christopher D says, better overall microwave off the bench, Vinny Johnson or Jason Terry?
This is easy for me. Vinny Johnson. That's all I'm going to say. Vinny Johnson. I don't got to break this down. Nothing. Vinny Johnson was buckets. Jason Terry was a starter too, by the way. Vinny Johnson, he was a rotation dude. Buckets.
Christopher D came with another one, said Kobe and LeBron were best players at that time from 2008 to 2010. I'd take Kobe, but LeBron isn't a bad pick.
Yeah. You already know where I'm at with it.
Yeah, of course, LeBron's never a bad pick in any scenario. Chill and Bobby, is there a conversation for any of the top 10 players from 2011 to 2018 that could have went to 8 straight finals if they had LeBron's teams? Only player that had a conversation was maybe KD.
Nope. Leonard ain't doing it. Curry ain't doing it. Let's see who else. James Harden ain't doing it. We saw James do it. Let's see. Damian Lillard ain't doing it. Let's see who else is running around during that time. Russell Westbrook ain't doing it. Paul George ain't doing it. None of them dudes.
Early in the decade, maybe Carmelo. Yeah.
If you put Paul George on that Miami Heat team, take James off that Miami Heat team and put Paul George on that Miami Heat team with Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade, I'm not 100% sure that they go to the finals. I think James. I'm not sure, Big Ox. I'm not. I'm not sure.
I'm trying to remember the road they had to go through in the East to win that one in 2012, the one where they beat OKC.
So in 2012, so they had to beat the Celtics in the East Finals. They had to beat the Celtics in the East Finals, and they was down in that series too. By the way, they was down 3-2 in that series. They had to beat. No, they didn't have to beat the Bulls. They didn't have to beat the Celtics. I think they beat Brooklyn. No, they beat Brooklyn in 13. I'm sorry.
Was it Chicago?
They beat Chicago in 11. The year before that, they beat them in the Eastern Conference Championship in 2011. Who did they beat in 2012? And that was a lockout season. Who did they beat? I got to go look that up. But I know that they beat Boston in the East Finals. I do know that for a fact. But when I think about Leonard being on that Miami Heat team, I don't think Leonard could have won with any of them Cleveland teams. I definitely don't think he could have won in 15, and I don't think he could have done it in 18. No, I don't. Okay. Maybe in 16 with both Kevin Love and Irv being healthy, maybe, but I don't think he would have done it in 15, and I don't think he could have done it in 18. I do not.
Zay Kane, aka Styles Sharpton, Memphis native here. What do you guys think we need to win a championship? We, as in the Grizzlies.
You need a leader, first of all. That's what you need. You need to establish who your leader is, and not only establish who your leader is, he's got to be better at it. And Ja isn't. Ja is not. You already got your force in the paint in Jaren Jackson Jr. You already got that guy. I think you can get it. I think you can upgrade at the rebound spot. I actually like Desmond Bane at the 2. I don't hate Desmond Bane at the 2. I like Desmond Bane at the 2. But I think that your leadership is the problem more than anything.
Right. When Zay dropped this, it was somebody in the chat right under him when the chat dropped this and said prayer. I think it's safe to say that you should start with that. Couple more. First right here, pimp named Slickback. Shout out to the other Nets fan up here. Pretty sure he's talking about my guy Breezy.
Yep.
Stay away from Dame. I'm sick of this team gutting our young talent and picks for aging stars. Do y'all know we traded away the 2014 pick that became Dame? Oh yeah. Damn, that's a heartbreaker. But we passed up on, I know how that feels. We passed up on Steph and Clay. So
and Luka too. I'm sorry, Dan. I'm sorry, Dan. I apologize.
Hit 44. What type of question? You rather sign with Nike for $5 million or Skechers for $100? What would you rather do, Chilltown?
That I don't even know if that's all money ain't good money, but
yeah.
I mean, if Skechers gonna design me a shoe that works,
right?
It's gonna be hard to turn down $100 million.
Yeah, as long as Skechers isn't being involved in some shady business deals that I come up about. Yeah, I'm taking that $100 million.
It's hard to say no to $100 million. Over $5 million? What are we talking about? Really?
If once it goes from $5 million to maybe 10, 15 mil, that's what. If it's $5 to $7 million, okay, I might go with Nike. But
15,
come on,
$5 million, $50 million, $5 million, $75 million. Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah,
that's where we're going.
Right. Well, we've gotten to the end of the super chats, which usually signals the end of the show. We appreciate you guys stopping by and spending your time with us. We know you don't have to. Game 3 coming up tonight, man. Y'all make sure y'all find a good place to, sit down and watch that, enjoy the show. Afterwards, of course, make sure you do not drink and drive. Call an Uber, call a Lyft. If you're in my area, call me. Chilltown.
Love yourself, love others, be kind. Don't be afraid to fail. Failing is not trying. So until then, take it light, but take it.
All right, y'all. Y'all have a good